Again, these are used in exceptional circumstances, and when it's deemed in
Like
the
what?
public interest, it's to manage the immigration system.
For the record and for the
make
analysts,
it more
I would like to
integrity.
note that the minister has not noted what those exceptional circumstances would be, and that is crazy.
And that is the
Unbelievable.
purpose for the legislation.
order.
It is meant to give.
Point of order, Mr. Fragiscatos, and it's time as well. Yes.
This is actually bananas and so anti-Canadian. So what are those specific safeguards? You haven't defined it in the legislation. You're sitting here blathering, and like you're literally asking us to say, yeah, we should give the government the right to just cancel PR, mass PRs. Then you say that's how a government should be run? That sounds like an authoritarian dictatorship to me. Why should I give you the powers to do that? That sounds absolutely
Again, these
insane.
are not
Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Do you know who Lena Diab is? She's a MP from Nova Scotia here. We're not proud of that. She's our Minister of Immigration. And let me tell you, whatever is going on in our government, it's deliberate sabotage. She's evidence of that. She's here facing Michelle Rempel Garner in committee. This is the Immigration Committee. They're conducting an investigation, and the minister shows up. Lena Diab, like, once you see this, you cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's hard to believe. Michelle Rempel Garner is going to go up a couple of points in your books, guaranteed. A lot of people think she's tied to the WEF. Nothing is further from the truth. Anyhow, you can find out if you research online. She's got a Substack column that she does. You can find out what Michelle Rempel Garner really thinks of that organization. Anyhow, let's get into this video. This is out of control. Like, Lena Diab fights with Michelle Rempel Garner, but Michelle Rempel Garner is smart and Lena Diab is simple. Let's take a look and a listen. I'll check you out after the first round because there are so many things in this video coming up. Let's take a peek. It's a bit long, but it's all in context. As soon as you're not entertained, get out of here. You'll be entertained. This is, if it wasn't real life, it would be funny, but it's real life. Let's take a look.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
And we start off with Ms. Rempel Garner.
What a mess. There's over 300,000 asylum claims. Your government, that will likely take 25 years to process the backlog. Your government has spent almost over $2 billion on things like hotel rooms for bogus asylum claimants. Bogus asylum claimants are getting resources that Canadians aren't eligible for, and here we are today. Minister, the Canadian Bar Association, Refugee Lab, Amnesty International, and other legal advocacy groups have argued that the immigration provisions found in Bill C-12 are unconstitutional. Several of them have said that they are preparing for challenges, that there could be over 24,000 court challenges. Have you, Minister, directed your officials to begin preparing to defend the provisions of this bill in court in advance of these challenges?
So thank you very much, member, for that question. There's two parts to it. The first, you're talking about asylum. So our government is committed to rebuilding Canadians' trust in Canada's immigration system.
Thank
We're
you.
Making our borders
I asked you a pointed
stronger.
question, and Chair, I realize but I asked a pointed question, so I expect a pointed response. Have you directed your officials to begin preparing for legal challenges, to defend those in court? You're asking us to support this bill. It is highly likely to be challenged in the courts. Have you directed your officials to begin preparing legal defenses?
So thank you for the question. Again, the intent of the ineligibility measures are to protect the integrity and the efficiency of the in-Canada asylum system against sudden increases.
Thank you. So I'll take that as a no. With your word salad, which is just really unfortunate because you are asking us to support this bill, which virtually every legal association in the country has said is unconstitutional, and you're word salading us on whether or not you have directed your officials to begin preparing it. So would you say that it is fair to characterize, given that what you've just said, that this is an attempt by the Liberal government to punt the mess of the asylum system to the courts?
So again, I don't know what salad you're speaking of, but the courts have confirmed that neither the Charter nor the Refugee Convention require a particular form of refugee determination process in this legislation, we have the PROS system, the pre-removal risk disorder, the pre-removal order. And so the government's position is that these provisions are consistent with both the Charter and with the Canada's international refugee law obligations.
So I'll just ask one of your officials, is, in the ministry's opinion, is the asylum deadline contained in Bill C-12 charter compliant? Anybody? No?
Can I get a clarification, Madam Chair, the deadline?
Deadline? What
Correct.
deadline?
So it's the deadline by which that somebody has to apply. I think that there's an arbitrary timeline. Is that charter compliant?
So again, our assessment based on the bill being tabled is the provisions are consistent.
Thank you.
with the-
Okay. So these provisions are going to be appealed. Minister, you haven't directed your officials to begin preparing to defend these appeals, so it's highly likely that many people will perceive the measures in this bill as a way to just punt, the government is punting this to the courts. Have you consulted with your provincial colleagues and come up with a cost estimate of the legal costs it will, cost provincial governments in terms of bogus asylum claims challenging the provisions in this bill?
Well, again, charter challenges would go through the federal court system, and that is the
Yeah, but there are
responsibility
legal-
of the federal government, and I've got the
Yes, but
justice officials here.
who pays for the legal aid, Minister?
That is the responsibility of federal government.
But there's also provincial support that happens as well, too, right? And that's what you haven't done. You haven't gone to provincial governments, as you guys hashtag welcome to Canada, 300,000 plus bogus asylum claimants across the border from the U.S. I digress. A recent news story involved over 200 similar stories where applications for asylum were used. They used copy and paste language, and they all shared a similar immigration consultant. Why doesn't Bill C-12 contain provisions to require asylum claimants to state their reasons for claiming asylum orally on the record upon arriving into Canada to prevent this type of fraud?
Look, excellent. Look, these are excellent. That's exactly why we're here today, to study these provisions. These are to protect us against fraud.
Yes,
and
that's
about
not
fraudulent
so that's
claim.
not in the bill. Why isn't it in the bill?
The approach targets fraud in individual applications as well as a coordinated fraud scheme to prevent systemic abuse within the immigration and citizenship programs, and does hold actors
So I don't
accountable.
think that's
1
not in
minute.
the bill. Shouldn't asylum claimants have to prove that they made their claim in a timely manner instead of making the government do so? And why didn't you include that provision in Bill C-12?
So there are clear provisions in this act
But
in
not that
terms of the
provision.
ineligibility rules.
Not
the
that
1 year
provision.
deadline and the 14-day.
But those are likely to be punted to the courts, and some simple switches, which could have prevented people from abusing the asylum system, you chose not to include, which is interesting. Minister, have you done any sort of studies on the totality of costs of bogus asylum claimants with regard to benefits across the across jurisdictions over the last 6 years?
I
response.
just recently met with the the provincial territorial, and we actually discussed, that was part of the discussion that we also talked about it. We talked about the
What was
federal
it? What
support.
was the total cost?
I'm sorry, that's time. You're going to have to continue this in the next round, Ms. Rempel, Garner.
It's a wonder to me how these Liberal cabinet ministers keep failing up. It continues to happen. Lena Diab is hard to believe. Michelle Rempel Garner is doing a great job. So Julie Zorkwitz is the chair of this committee, and watch the stunt she pulls, assisted by Gabrielle Beaufaniel, whatever. She's a Bloc Québécois MP that sells out every chance she gets. The Bloc Québécois are a problem in this country. So are the Liberals. Let's take a look, though. Michelle Rempel Garner is going to stick up for herself. She is the immigration critic for the Conservatives. Right after she sticks up for herself, she goes back for more Diab, if there was anything left to begin with.
I wonder if we can if everyone would approve a 5-minute break. we will extend by 5 minutes this whole meeting time, so no one's losing any time. If we can have a 5-minute break right now. I'm just asking if it's okay if we take a break. Ms. Belfoy, would you like a break? Mr. Ma, my colleagues, but yes, please do, Mr. Fragiscatos.
We always take a break to transition over. Now, there's no transition here, but I don't think it's unreasonable to have 5 minutes, and then we make it up at
No, it is
5
unreasonable.
minutes at the end of the meeting.
There's no protocol for this.
I
Let's just
I
keep
know
going.
there's no protocol, we're just asking the
but we'll
question,
leave it
and
there.
we're not losing
Okay.
time. We would actually extend
It's
it by
fine with the
5 minutes, Ms.
witnesses.
Rempel Garner.
We're okay to keep going, because it's okay.
Yes, Ms. De Bellefeuille.
It's up to the committee, obviously.
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez?
Moi, je pense, Madame la Présidente,
I think that taking a few minutes to have a break for our interpreters would be welcome, a short break. But I don't think we should prolong our meeting by 5 minutes because, as Mr. Regicatos has said, we often change our panel of witnesses without adding any more time. So 5 minutes just for giving our interpreters a break, our excellent interpreters, and to allow me to be a full participant in today's meeting.
This never happens. It's a 2-hour committee meeting. Like, does the
Ms. Rempel Garner, I'm
right?
asking you and everyone else here if we could take a 5-minute break. If you are against it, that's okay. So now you have said no, so we will continue. So now we are going to go. Despite everybody else saying yes, we will continue. You will have. We now have Ms. Rempel Garner starting the 4th round for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I'm here to work, Chair. Minister.
So are we.
Thank
Thank you.
Minister. Thank you, Chair. Minister, I just want to be clear. There are presently, per your testimony, no asylum claimants in any hotel or temporary accommodation in Canada right now.
I said there's no asylum claimants in hotel accommodations, IRC. No, there isn't. I didn't say there. Obviously, there's there's other municipalities have places, but not in hotels that are paid for by the federal government or anyone else. That's correct.
So you're not paying for those asylum claimants that were in hotels to be in other places right now in any way, shape, or form.
So we have transferred funding to municipalities, but there's no asylum claimants in hotels.
Okay, so basically what you guys have done is remove the hotel line item and force people out on the streets while transferring more money to municipalities. Is that about right?
I didn't say that.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to go back to the section on mass cancellations. So just to reemphasize what you said, you are saying that this section doesn't apply to asylum claimants, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
These powers are used in exceptional cases for
Thank you.
fraud
So-
purposes, health crises like pandemics,
Okay.
safety, national security.
So fraud is not-
for individual asylum claimants.
So fraud is not mentioned in C-12 once, and the section that gives you power to cancel immigration applications, including permanent residence visas, doesn't include fraud. It's not, public interest isn't defined. So you weren't able to give an example, a specific example of where you would use this before. I'm just puzzled why you would be asking Parliament to grant you authority to cancel somebody's permanent resident visa without going through Parliament if you can't name an example.
So as I said earlier, happy to repeat, these are not meant to be used for individual cases.
Okay, so but you
These
talk-
powers are for intentionally, public interest is not defined in the legislation to allow for flexibility for government to respond
Right.
to
So-
various measures that are not for individual cases.
But you talked about some of these examples being during the pandemic when there were a lot of fraudulent visas or letters issued to students.
No,
right?
no, I never said that.
Okay, but I'm trying to find an example where you would use this, because to me, it seems like you're trying to give yourself and your department more powers to correct mistakes in the system that they would have made in screening out, potential fraud to begin with, that affects real people with real lives. So you're telling people, like, essentially you're asking Parliament to give your department the power to cancel people who've come to Canada on permanent resident visas and temporary resident visas without a lot of definition.
Absolutely not correct. The
Okay, then what would
Minister
the
of
example be?
IRCC will not have these
But
authorities.
the government and council would, right?
The decision rests with government. That
Yeah, but not
would
Parliament.
issue an order in council that would be made public
But not Parliament. So
to intervene
so
on the
if you were-
on documents.
Ms. Rempel Garner, kindly allow her to answer the question.
Minister next week, and somebody asked you,
If I was where?
a Red FM panel next week, and a radio host said,
I don't
who
know.
does this apply to? What would you tell the radio host?
Again, these are meant to protect us.
Who's us?
The government, the Canadian
Oh.
public. It's to protect
From
the
what?
Canadian public
From
from
what
safety, from
Allow her
major
to answer
crises.
the question, Ms. Rempel Garner.
That's what it's meant for. It's to
1
intervene
minute.
when there's, in the opinion of the governor and council, it's in the public interest to do so.
The government and council powers to protect Canada from groups of immigrants? Which groups of immigrants?
There's rise in exploitation. I don't think I need to tell you that.
Yeah, but why
there's
would
many
you-
that are brought in along, and we've learned a lot of lessons from COVID-19 pandemic
But-
that pointed to gaps in the authorities that
But
currently exist
Why
in
wouldn't
Canada.
you just make the system work as opposed to punishing victims of human trafficking? This seems like you're literally saying that you're going to cancel whole groups of people's permanent residence visas? without
Absolutely not
defining
saying
what
that. And
That's
the reason
exactly
why
what the
this
legislation says.
legislation is to make things work better.
I think you're saying, you said protect Canadians from people. Which people?
It's to protect Canadians from public crises that are
Thank you,
deemed.
thank you, Ms.
in the-
Rempel Garner. Thank you, Minister. Next, we have 5.
Hope you've been enjoying the video to this point. It's only going to escalate from here. In the final round, Michelle Rempel Garner and Lena Diab totally clash. Points of order. It's out of control. Let's keep it rolling. Thank you all for watching. Aaron Canadian Looney. Like, share, subscribe, and check out the rest of this video. It does escalate. It gets worse.
We are now going into our final round, which is our 5th round, and we have Ms. Rempel Garner for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to go back to the mass cancellation powers because, Minister, you really haven't outlined where you would use those powers. You mentioned preventing fraud that happened during the pandemic. You keep talking about the pandemic. I note a lot of people that are on the Hong Kong pathways, for example, came in during the pandemic. What's to stop you from using, or not you, but the government, from using this power to cancel the visas of everybody here on the Hong Kong pathway? Like, what would stop it, conceivably, if we let this pass? What's the safeguard from you doing that?
Well, actually, there's a lot of safeguards. I already said I'm not going to have any singular power.
But the
It's not
government
in the
does,
power
right?
of the minister. It's in exceptional cases. It has to be deemed in the public interest.
Like
Goes
what?
to the governor and council. Has to be charter compliant.
Like what?
There's a lot of safeguards in the system.
Like what?
I've just explained. Like what?
But the government here, like, we've seen examples where the government has done crazy things, quote, in the public interest, like.
Well, that
issuing the
might be your
Emergencies Act
opinion.
and
It may not
having-
be someone
and
else's
having,
opinion.
One of your former colleagues talk about using tanks on people. That actually happened during your government's tenure. So what is to stop, like, I want to know, because you're asking us to vote in favor of this bill, what is to stop you from en masse canceling the entire PR and visas of everybody who's on the Hong Kong pathway right now? What's the safeguard in there specifically?
Again, these are not meant to cancel en masse.
But you just said it was to cancel en masse. It wasn't
Well,
for
it could be
individual
extended.
cases.
It could again. Would have to be in the public interest, and that is why the regulations will
Well,
specify
what's-
some of these
what's the
as
public
well. And it
interest?
would go to the governor and council. There's a cabinet committee. There's all kinds of all kinds of ministries would be involved.
Basically what I take from
legal
this provision,
legal justice would be
You
involved.
want-
It would have to comply with our charter.
you want Parliament to give the government the ability to kick mass groups of people out, undefined, who they don't like. That's what it sounds like to me. You're not being specific with regard to safeguards here. You're literally asking Parliament to circumvent laws that allow that protect charter rights and to mass cancel entire groups of people who could be here. And you can't say who. How could I go to like ethnic groups in my community and say that I could vote for this? This is actually bananas and so anti-Canadian. So what are those specific safeguards? You haven't defined it in the legislation. You're sitting here blathering, and like you're literally asking us to say, yeah, we should give the government the right to just cancel mass PRs. Like imagine you sitting on Red FM tomorrow. Are you going to be saying the same thing to them that you're saying to me now?
Absolutely, yes, I will be.
Thank you for that.
These are not designed to block people that need protection from
I get
from
it.
accessing the system. These powers would only be used in exceptional circumstances when determined in the public
Like what? What's
interest.
an
There are
exceptional
safeguards in that are built in here. Would have to be charter compliant. We will we will have justice and other officials and other departments involved. That is how you run a country, believe it or not, member, and that that is part of ensuring that we have the tools needed to manage migration integrity.
So this is how you run a country. You ask Parliament to give you powers to cancel, as you've said, permanent resident visas, temporary resident visas, en masse, without defining in what situations you would do it, with no
1 minute.
examples. And
It is meant to give
Point of order, Mr. Fragiscados, and it's time as well. Yes.
I'll withdraw it. It's fine.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Rempel Garner. Thank you, Minister.
All right, gang, hope you enjoyed the video. Like Lena, Diab is hard not to remember, but you do want to forget that this isn't comedy. This is real life, and it's happening in Canada in real time. They're sabotaging our nation from the top down, and I don't know what the end of the road is for people like us, but we're going to have digital IDs. We won't be able to get online. You won't be able to access your bank accounts. You probably won't be able to turn over your car. Let's see where it goes. Aaron, Canadian Looney, like, share, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next video. Thank you for watching this one. Ciao for now.